A prerequisite for attending the Salah session is the purification, or what we commonly call the wudu. A lot of people say that the wudu is a ritual cleansing, but we really need to be accurate here. According to Surah 5 verse 6, God tells us that the purpose of this purification is that He wants to cleanse you and to complete His blessings upon you that you may be thankful. And when we read 5:6, we see God is telling us to wash certain parts of the body. So it is obviously referring to a physical cleaning. And this makes sense. When we go to the Salah sessions with other people, we're going to be interacting with other people. We're going to be sitting next to other people. So God wants us to be clean and presentable around them. This is the idea behind 5:6. It's no different than going to a conference or going to some interview. You want to be clean and presentable around other people. So what I would like to do now is walk through 5:6 with you and share with you some key terms and share with you what I understand of those terms. God says, "O you who believe, when you get up to the Salah, then you shall wash your faces and your hands to the adjoining parts." This is the first step. Wash your faces and your hands to al-marafiq. Now note here the Arabic word al-marafiq. This word is often translated as elbows. However, this word is actually in the plural form, being three or more. So it's not just the elbows. Otherwise, God would have used the dual form, which is mirfaqain. But He says al-marafiq, which is plural. It's three or more. And I translate it as adjoining parts. What this teaches us, that there are adjoining parts of the face and adjoining parts of the hands. The adjoining parts of the face are your mouth, your nose, and your eyes and your ears. And the adjoining parts of the hands are your hands, your wrists, your forearms, as well as up to your elbows. What's interesting is that this is probably why in traditional Islam, when they wash their faces during the wudu, they also rinse their mouth and their nose and their ears. And there's some validity to this. Remember, the idea is that you want to be clean and presentable around other people. So if by any chance, for example, your nose is dirty from the inside, then it's a good idea to rinse it out. Okay, I don't think it's necessary if it's not dirty, but if by any chance your mouth, your eyes, your nose, your ears are dirty from the inside, then it's a good idea to rinse them out. This is the first step. The second step is to wipe your heads and your legs to the two prominences. We wipe our heads and our legs, which start at the feet, to the two prominences. This refers to the two prominences of each foot. The two prominences of each foot are your ankle, your heel, and your ankle. So you want to make sure that you are wiping those areas. So these are the two steps, the two primary steps to the wudu. And note that these two steps we are cleaning the areas that are exposed to the public. So God wants us to clean those areas, again, to be clean and presentable around other people. Now, the remainder of the verse talks about conditional washing. God says, "And if you have been to the side, remote, then you shall purify." There are two key terms I want to point out here. God says, if you have been junuban. Now, what's interesting here is that junuban is often translated as sexual excrements, which is completely wrong. When we look up the word junuban in the Quran, we see it refers to a person who is on the side. He or she is remote. They are not attending, or they are not part of that thing. So, and this is even why the word junuban comes from the root janaba, which means to the side. And so God here is referring to a person, junuban. If a person is junuban, this means that this person has not attended the salah session before, or has not attended in a while. They have been remote. If they have been remote, then they shall purify. فَطَّهَّرُوا. Now, purification here does not necessarily mean that they need to take a complete bath. It's basically you need to wash the areas that need to be addressed, even if that includes a complete bath. And I'm cross-referencing this with Surah 4 verse 43, which says, "Nor if remote, junuban, unless passing through, until you wash." فَاغْتَسِلُوا. So what's interesting here is that this teaches us that during the Salah sessions, people from the outside would come, walk by and say, oh, what's going on here? They might just stay for a little bit and go. Or if they want to really attend, then they need to wash, okay, before they attend. And this is what this verse is talking about. Nor if remote, unless they are passing through until they wash. Now, the remainder of the verse is also conditional washing. It says, if you are ill or traveling, or one of you have come from the sunken place, or you have sexually touched the women, and you cannot find water, then you shall aim for good soil from high. You shall wipe your faces and your hands with it. Now, note here, this is talking about a situation when there is no water. But if you are ill or traveling, and you found water, then the previous step needs to apply. Purify, fattaharu. Address the areas that need to be addressed, even if that includes a complete bath. So let's walk through this. If you are ill or traveling, or one of you have come from al-gha'it. Al-gha'it is often translated as a toilet, and this is true. Al-gha'it refers to, it literally means a thing that sinks into something else. And that's obviously where they would basically have a ditch and they would relieve themselves. But this could also be expanded to a situation where a person himself falls into, for example, mud. He has sunken himself into mud, for example. He is completely dirty. God says, if you come from al-gha'it, then you found water, fattaharu. Okay, so clean the areas that need to be cleaned. Then the verse says, or you have sexually touched the women. Lamastum an-nisa. Lamastum here, this is where it's talking about sex. Okay, or something close to sex at least. Lamastum comes from the root lamasa. Lamasa means to physically touch something on the surface. But note here, it doesn't say lamastum. It says lamastum with an alif, lamastum. Lamastum indicates that it's an exaggerated form of touching, which refers to sex, any form of sexual touch. It doesn't mean that if you shook a woman's hand, that means you have nullified your wudu. No. Otherwise, God would have just said lamastum without the alif. But here he says lamastum, which indicates an exaggerated form of physical touching, which refers to sexually touching the women. Then God says, if any of these apply and you cannot find water, then you shall aim, fatayammamu, for good soil from high. Sa'idan tayyiban. What does this really mean? Sa'idan, the word sa'idan, means a thing that climbs up high. Tayyiban means good. Now, what's interesting here is that this refers to a type of soil that is in a high elevation. In other words, it has been untampered with. People have not ventured there, or no animals have ventured there. It's basically clean soil. And it's through this clean soil, God says, that you shall wipe your faces and your hands with it. What's interesting is that in situations where there's no water, people, at least then, they would wipe their faces and their hands with clean soil. It refers to some type of exfoliant. The clean soil acts like an exfoliant that basically removes any type of dirt or anything of that sort from the skin. And this is why God says just wipe it on your faces and your hands. That's all. You don't need to do anything else with it. Also interesting is that sa'idan tayyiban is sometimes understood to be referring to some type of plants that smell nice. Sa'idan means something that climbs up high, which refers to plants with a nice scent that they wipe their hands and their faces with it so that they can smell nice. This is also another interpretation. So this is what 5:6 is referring to, how to clean yourself and be presentable around other people. I'd like to also point out Surah 4 verse 43, which says, do not approach the salah while intoxicated until you know what you are saying. And I talked about sukara, the Arabic word sukara here, intoxicated. It refers not to just alcohol. please see my video about alcohol if you haven't done so. But this refers to being in a state of intoxication where, in other words, you don't know what you are talking about or you don't know what you're saying. You cannot attend the salah if you don't know what you are saying. So God says, do not approach the salah while intoxicated until you know what you are saying. So the idea is that you need to understand or comprehend what is being talked about or what people are saying or what you are saying. So this is the idea of the wudu. It's not a ritual. It's referring to a physical cleaning. We need to be in a clear state of mind and also to be physically clean in the presence of other people.